Yes, hello, ho, ho, ho. In tonight's holiday replay, it's time for our first official house guest. Yeah, I know we had George Vogel on for our bourbon tasting on the Gamble and Finn's Larger Than Live, but Kathrine Nero, formerly your morning show TV anchor, who's now a brand all her own, she was our first official house guest talking about the infamous pivot. And if you forgot what that means, here's a good reminder. In tonight's holiday replay, we welcome back again our very first official house guest, Kathrine Nero. Hope you enjoy.
And action. Yes, hello. Welcome to Larger Than Live, a very special edition here at the Oasis at House Gamble here on the back 40 in lovely Northern Kentucky. He's Gamble, I'm Finn. I'm going to tell you something. We called this episode The Rose Between Two Thorns, basically for the graphic only, because for social distancing reasons, this is what we've decided to do. But how about our first special guest ever? No offense, George Vogel.
Right.
So
Wasn't all that special.
Well, he brought bourbon, so that was the only reason he was allowed to come on the show.
Guest.
So, yes, Kathrine Nero, welcome.
I'm so glad to be here. This is gorgeous, the back 40 here.
Thank
It's
you.
fantastic.
Yeah, well, we're glad to have you because in light of what's been going on for months here, everyone is pivoting on a day-in, day-out basis, and you've kind of started a couple years ago, but I think you've maybe done the ultimate pivot, which we'll get to.
Yeah.
But in
It
fact,
was a pivot was forced into, to be very
well, but you
fair.
know what? Sometimes the forced into you
I agree.
need because you kind of get in that lulled into that.
Totally
I have
agree.
a number of friends who are like, well, you know, I don't really like what I'm doing, but I don't hate it bad enough to so what do?
Yep.
You just keep doing the same thing over and
Well,
over.
and as a function of that, I mean, normally you'll find us on Monday nights and then on Thursday nights on WLW 9 to midnight for the reality check. This is a special Wednesday night edition of the program, which we're not going to lie, we're recording it on Monday.
Right, it's going to air Wednesday, but it's because your shirt selection is horrific for
because
these
you'll
2
notice
days.
in the promo
Right,
for
it's
the
all
Monday
good.
Show, our continuity director took the
Yeah,
night off.
bad.
So it was too busy
Very
working
bad.
craft services. But anyway, the point being, we have tried to, since we've been at 96 Rock together, and you went from newspaper and through radio and sports radio, me through rock radio, Bogarts twice, rock radio again, everything else. We sat around and we looked at each other and go, man, what's next? And you know, your situation at Channel 9, it was like all of a sudden after 20 years, you show up and you're like,
Yeah.
how come this thing's not working anymore?
Exactly. I always used to say, hey, at least the paycheck cashes and my key card works. And then one day, neither of those happened. But, yeah, I mean, it was out of the blue, completely crazy. But you're right, though, about I would still be there. I would still be waking up at 1:30 in the morning. I would still be complaining about God knows what. And but because I would have been afraid to make the jump. I would never have done it.
But you're
Never.
human. I think a lot of people. So let me take you back there. So when it happened, what was your when you finally got over the? And I'm sure, and I know you got a lot of public support. I mean,
I
people
did. It was very nice.
for being 15 years in the morning, and I mean, getting up at 1:30, you damn well deserve public support. But let me. When you finally said, "Okay, I know that chapter's done,"
Yeah.
What motivated you? How did you then? Because I know a lot of people are going through this now. How did you then? What was your impetus to say? What strategy did you employ to kind of go? Here's my next step.
You know, I got really good advice from a ton of people, but of all people, John Keysweater from The Inquirer, long before I started working for The Inquirer. Now, of course, he's at VXU, but he said, because the same thing happened to him at The Inquirer years and years ago.
Yep.
And he said, say no to everything for a month and then figure it out. So I did.
Okay.
For a month, I'm telling you, if I'd been offered a job about 2 days in, I would be at the drive-thru at Wendy's if that's what it was. I mean, that would, you're just,
We
you
could
know.
have
Wait a
been
minute. Yeah,
coworkers.
you
We could have
guys
been
could
There
have.
you go.
Yeah.
I got an offer
By the way,
to
the
be
Frost-
assistant
the
assistant
Frosted
manager
I'm just telling you.
in-
Yeah.
Was it Oxford?
It was Oxford. It was. I thought it was a double-decker Wendy's, but there isn't one, right?
I got something on my Indeed, and we can get to the overblown nature of that whole thing that said, oh, there's an opportunity as the assistant manager of the Wendy's in Oxford. And I'm not disparaging Wendy's, but I'm like, did they just see that I went to Miami and thought
this will be it?
I wanted to come
This
back?
is great.
But
So,
to your point, I mean,
Yeah.
you don't want to take that knee-jerk reaction and go,
Right.
I'll take it, because something may just be blowing right by you.
And then after about a month, I started realizing, and I'm a paper person, so I'm like writing everything down, like brain dump style, and I realized what I liked about what I was doing and what I didn't like about what I was doing. And I don't think I was really clear on the stuff I didn't like before that moment. And so I realized I didn't like waking up early in the morning. I didn't like some of the things that we were covering and some of the ways that we were covering it. I didn't like that I was having to explain to people that you don't have to explain where Hebron is. We all know it's in Kentucky. You don't have to say Kentucky. And because we were getting inexperienced producers, inexperienced reporters, many of whom tried exceptionally hard, but I felt like my job was to make sure everybody knew everything because they didn't have that institutional knowledge. Yeah. So, and I realized that, and that's just from being somewhere for a length of time. But yeah, I realized the stuff I liked, I realized the stuff I didn't. And what I landed on was what I liked was telling stories, talking about great things that are happening in the area. Yeah. And those aren't the things that always lead the news, unfortunately.
Yeah. So you are today, let's talk about Coffee Break with Kathrine, which is what you do for Cincinnati.com, the Enquirer, call it. But how did that come about? And that's become really popular. I know you're enjoying it. I know Michael Perry is somebody who I know Michael really well, and he worked in sports at the Enquirer and now works in a much different role, administrative role. But I know he obviously recognized your talent and said, hey, I think, we'll take a look at something like
so
this.
we worked together way back when he was covering Xavier and I was covering sports at Channel 9. And we, kind of kept up over the years. But, I remember seeing when he went back to the Enquirer, I thought, well, that's weird because he left the Enquirer and went to PR and came back.
Not exactly the course today.
No, not at all. And so I thought, well, that's interesting. And then I met with him. He called me and we met. And it's the first question I asked him. I'm like, so why did you get back into it? And he was so excited about the change in leadership and the change in what they're doing over there at the Enquirer. And Burl Love, who's back as the editor, who I also worked with when I was at Channel 9. And Michael's like, hey, what if you do some Facebook Live stuff? And I'm like, is that a job? Okay, sounds great. I get to talk about stuff. And that's it? Okay, I'll do that. So what I always tell people when they ask, like, how do you know what's next? It's the relationships that you build from day one, really. And, I mean, that's just, I guess what that says is be nice to people. And, I know. I think back on some times that trouble. I'm glad I was in the nice phase with Michael. So that was probably good. But anyway, I mean, it's those past relationships that can lead you to new things. I never would have thought it.
It's funny to hear you say that because literally when I saw he went back to the Enquirer, I called him and I said, are you okay? Because you just, in today's world, I mean, everybody's kind of waiting for the print edition. I know everything's gone online, et cetera, but I mean, that's why I got out of print journalism a long time ago. So Coffee Break with Kathrine, now you've kind of...
Well, if you don't mind me interrupting, and because while we're on that, and there's a real big reason why you are our first and lucky to be our first guest here on this, because this wouldn't exist, I don't think, if we hadn't started talking about it, because I was on it with you when I was at Bogarts, because I remember sitting there with Jimmy and thinking, we were talking about the Bogarts birthday bash. I saw her come in, set up. She put her key light up. She put her phone up, and she goes, we're ready to go. Here's how long we've got. Are you guys ready? We're ready. Boom. She broke it down. She goes, thanks. See ya. And boom, I got 2 or 3 more places.
Here's what you didn't see immediately after I left. I forgot to close my trunk, and I drove off past Bogarts and all of my stuff.
Seriously?
Yeah. And this girl's like waving me down. I'm like, what? And I turn around. I'm like, oh, yeah, there's my light in the middle of the. It was fine, though. It was fine. But yeah, so I don't have all my stuff together, but I'm close.
But watching you do that, I sat there. I remember that day going, huh.
And this is where people are. Social media is where the people are.
You're correct.
Yeah. But it did lead a lot to what we're doing now and us taking it on the road. We were at Starlight driving last week for Marty's. Yeah, we'll get to that a little later on in the. We already
lots occurred since we did.
Oh my goodness, it has.
Yes. But it was a big part of watching you do that, thinking, there's something in there. When we went to the radio show at LW. This was always kind of in the back of our mind because of the coffee break.
Thank you. Well, I'll tell you that's the thing that, we were just kind of chit-chatting before. You have to go where the audience is. And I think right now, if television has a fatal flaw, local, like news television, not just in general, but like local news, still believes that people are making appointment television to turn on the news at 6 p.m. and watch them. I believed it until I was out of the business. Like, I seriously believed it. And now I realize I don't need to do that. Like, people don't need that. And so I think that news will always be there. Local news will always be there. I don't know how it's going to be there, or the platform it's going to be on, or the method it's going to be, like, put out in the world. But it's going to be there. But I don't think the appointment television is the way of the future.
I would agree, but I also think local news today is terrible. I mean, I really do. I'm just going to be brutally honest.
I still have some great friends in local news.
They have great friends, but I think the presentation of there's very little reporting. There's very little digging deep and giving you, real stories. There's not a lot of.
There's not time.
There's no
time to do
meat
it.
Well, there's not enough people. Mm-hmm. The people that they hire are young, inexperienced, and a lot of times terrible. I mean, I'm just going to call it what it is. I mean, we got 5 people in weather. They're 0 for 5 because they can't get it right.
Yeah, I was at the pool on Friday night. Like, hey, remember that 80% chance of rain?
Oh yeah. Well, last week, and I pay attention to this.
Oh, I hear about. Trust me, I get a second weather report every single day.
Last week, I was told that, and I love when it rains now. It's a weather impact day, just for rain. They told me 4 of 5 days were weather impact days, and there were 0. But my point is, what happened to news?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the issue. In sports, will. I don't know how much longer. Not much before I think it's completely gone. I really do.
The thing about covering news in a television newsroom is you're exactly right. There's attrition. So when those people leave, they're not replaced. Then they're like, we got to save some money. So do we hire the 20-year veteran,
right,
or do you hire the one just out of
the
school?
20-year-old? Yeah.
And you're like, okay, well, they can pretty much talk into a microphone. So good enough in some cases. There are still some great reporters out there doing great things.
There are.
But what's happening is not only do you have that happening, in addition to that, some of them are shooting and editing their own stuff.
Correct.
And they're having to go to 2 and 3 places to get the story. So a story that would have taken 2 people 3 hours to put together, and then I can start on another story while my photographer / editor is editing that. They're doing all of that at once. And also, and I'm telling you, there were many a sports game, a football game, Friday night football game specifically, where I'm like, I am not staying till 1 a.m. I would edit that stuff while the photographer was driving just so I could get it done.
Yeah.
You can't do that now because you're driving all of the, you're doing every job.
I remember when John Popovich, who you worked for, when I saw Popo with a video camera, I said, I said it's done.
Yep.
It's done. That's it. That, for me, was when I knew it was kind of done.
Yeah, I mean, we went from the days of talking to DJ Danny Jansen just about whether or not he had pants on under the desk, to then talking to Popo about carrying his own tripod and that whole thing. But
think about that.
But from a reporting standpoint, this is a question you and I have both asked. If you don't mind us diving back into that, see if you remember this. Why is it necessary that if something happened at the Justice Center maybe earlier in the day, or someone's in the Justice Center,
where you're going with this,
where someone has to be standing out of it, it's completely shut down, there's no one out there, it's completely dark. Hey, I'm here at the Justice Center where nothing is happening.
I love this question.
Why does that happen?
Right.
There is no reason.
I knew
There's no reason. Here's why. They'll tell you it's because it's urgent. And I remember,
urgent for what?
Here's the deal, though. The only way I can think about it is Stockholm Syndrome. When you are in that newsroom, you're like, you got to be live at the Justice Center. I mean, that's where people were arrested 47 hours ago. Right. And nothing's happening. And it's a blank wall. I could be standing anywhere at that hour.
Right. Yeah.
Or, make it fancy, make a graphic and explain what you're talking about. That would at least be better. But, when you're in that world and they keep saying, the consultants say you've got to have urgency.
Oh.
Okay. Urgency is standing in front of a...
You said the word consultants. Yep. That's
the C word.
But
the other C word these days.
We're here with Kathrine Nero, who has really kind of pivoted and made a whole new world for herself. And besides Coffee Break with Kathrine, which you can check, give the details on that.
So it's the Facebook page of the Cincinnati Enquirer. So find it on Facebook. It's Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky Enquirer. And it's 10 a.m. Monday through Friday. And sometimes it's remote, and I interview someone, they're at their house or office. I'm at mine. Sometimes I'm in person. It just depends on what we're doing. And it's all kinds of stuff. I mean, from, talking about the Tom Brenneman situation to talking about childcare today. We talked about, it's all over the map, what we talk about, which is what I enjoy.
But you've also kind of morphed out into a number of other things as well. And you're a social media media influencer.
Why,
I
thank
love
you,
that,
Tom.
man.
I'm trying,
That's-
man.
how
I'm
about
digging my
that?
foot into
Yeah,
that.
it's-
No, I try. I do a podcast for the Northern Kentucky Chamber called
Yep.
the Northern Kentucky Spotlight, which is great because I live in Northern Kentucky as you do. I love it, and I feel that, and we all know Northern Kentucky gets the shaft in local news. We
It
know
does.
this. It is
You're
a
correct.
fact. And so this is a good way to get the good things that are happening
Yeah.
out and about in the world. So I really enjoy that work there. But yeah, so it's just I just started a digital course, which
Yeah.
is closing even as we speak. Actually, in about a day, it's going to close.
So this is for get
Yeah.
a little bit confident on camera, right?
How to present yourself on camera. We're
We-
all on camera.
We should have taken that one.
Should have.
We still
You
should.
guys got a good setup here. You don't need me. I'm telling you. But I mean, look,
There's a reason this bar comes up to
Yeah,
here
right.
Same,
on the,
same.
Two, on the
Right.
two of us.
but yeah, so it's about how to look and feel your best, present yourself your best on camera, because that's how we're all judged right now
Yeah.
on Zoom calls and everything else. So
Well, I tell you, as we continue to talk about how we're pivoting and what we're doing, one of the things that we want to do is kind of do what you're talking about, and that's we want to go out and show people how to do it. Because if you're not thinking about what you're going to be when this
Yeah.
all shakes down, and we've started to know, he coined a term called the Excusatron 3000, which is everybody using the C word as the reason why they don't know what's going on, we're not sure just yet, or whatever. Well, now things are starting to come back into focus, and you're starting to realize what those people were doing. Nothing.
well, and that's the problem. You're exactly right.
They weren't preparing.
You're exactly right. And you've seen a lot of furloughs, and suddenly people are like, wait a minute, we're still getting the same amount of work done with only
yeah.
a third of the people here, or whatever it might
correct.
be. So that's a concern. I worry
Huge
about
concern.
I worry about real estate. Like
Right.
how many
Commercial
floors,
real estate in
commercial real
particular,
estate.
yeah.
How many floors of an office building do you really need? When for the last 5 months we've been just fine with zero.
And you know what? One of the groups that we work with are the Fueled Collective folks up in Rookwood. And that was something they saw coming years ago.
Yeah.
And so
Yep.
they created sort of this groupthink
place is
space
gorgeous.
and the
It
useful
is.
space there. And we've developed a relationship, and they sponsor our regular Monday night show. But it's exactly what we're talking about. It's seeing something coming and don't go, what is that bright light coming at me? Oh, God, it's a train. And being smart enough to jump off the tracks or hook your new invention to the train that's wind powered and make it go. You know what I'm saying? And that's what we're trying to figure out. How do we help people see that? Even at our advanced age, we still feel like we have really good
Well,
insights.
I think your advanced age is like to me, I always say, I'm like, well, thank God I got fired at 45 and not 55 or older, because like I don't know that a woman, frankly, at 55 could find a media job. I don't know that that's possible.
Yeah.
And so I think that whatever your age is, there's still, if you still want to work, you got to find that work and figure out how to manipulate what you've done so far into working in that capacity. And starting now is huge. And like I'll say the one thing that I wish I had thought through, and I didn't know it was coming, right? I mean, I was fired. It was out of the blue. I had not a single contact, not a single email. They shut my stuff down immediately. I had nothing. And that's your lifeblood. And I'm like, well, I remember where they work, but like you had just the effort of having to find every email address and every phone number or whatever it is. The stuff that was in my phone, I had, but I mean the stuff that was in my work email, I never thought, like my work computer, I didn't back that stuff up.
Yep.
I had none of that. And I probably could have sat in the newsroom like a loser after I'm cleaning out my desk for an hour, like, I'm just backing up all my Word documents. I'll be here for,
Excuse
so
me,
I'm like,
just
no,
gonna be
thank
over
you.
here with my PST
No, thank you.
files.
Yeah.
Oh, what do you mean I'm not allowed to take those?
Oopsie.
Yeah.
So I'm like, that was the one thing. If you're considering it, just kind of like think ahead. Just think ahead. Download those contacts and just keep them somewhere safe.
Always be prepared to be
Yeah.
shown the door.
I'm telling you right now, it is not a crazy thing to be to think about.
Today, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
I mean, it's so. Let me ask you: was there, since you've pivoted and it's been 2 years, was there a time? Was there an instance? Was there something you did where you said, "Man, I couldn't be any happier that this actually occurred"? Was
Okay,
there
yes,
one
yes.
instance?
And my daughter is sitting right there, and I think she can attest to this. I am sleeping like a normal human now, and they're like, "Wow, you're so much nicer. Like, you're not awful." And I didn't it took me like 3 or 4 months, and it was like a light bulb went off in my head. I was thinking clearly. I wasn't like foggy or bitchy, or like I was just like a normal human, like for the first time in their lives. I had never worked a normal first of all, I'd never worked a normal shift since I was 15 years old and started working. Never worked 9 to 5, not a day in my life. It was weekends, it was nights, it was mornings. And I was like, now, like this morning I woke up at 6:45, like, hello, I got to sleep in. This is awesome. Like, it was crazy. It's crazy now that I'm actually getting enough sleep. That's what did it for me. And then that's when my brain started firing.
Well, I'm always intrigued to ask people this because 1:30 is not, you're not getting up in the morning, you're getting up in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
So how long did it take? So when you were the 1:30 a.m., what about the 2 days you were off? What did you do? Did you keep on that same?
No.
I mean,
I would
See, 'cause
sleep
you do.
sleep in.
I know you do.
yeah.
I couldn't. I would sleep in, but I mean, I would still wake up at like 7:30 or 8.
No, that's pretty good though.
Yeah, I mean, I think. But yeah, I mean, I was only I would go to sleep at 10 though. That's the thing. I would go to sleep at 10 and wake up at 1:30, and then I would take a nap in the afternoon.
Well, you'd have to. There's no
Yeah.
way. Well, maybe that's why you only 3.5 hours
Yeah.
and then a nap. That's not enough.
Perhaps that's why.
Yeah, that might be the reason.
Boy, and
Yeah,
while you were
right.
doing all that, you guys went to HD, which probably made it like, oh,
Excellent points.
outstanding.
Excellent
Even
points.
better. Now I
Yeah,
need to
you
get up
know-
at 11.
Gotta slap on some morphine. Yeah, the other part of it is I felt like my whole day I was rushing. Like, gotta rush to get home so I can rush to take a nap and rush to wake up to get the kids from school and rush to make dinner and rush to go to bed. Like, everything was just like on hyper speed. Now there's extra time because I don't have to get up at 1:30.
Well, you said something that I thought was interesting because I left Bogart's voluntarily. We had an agreement. It was time for me to go back on November 1st. And you know this as well as anybody. And I said, I just need to go reset. I needed to get out of the concert security business, basically. I said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to give myself till my birthday to just woosah. I'm going to exhale. I'm going to look around, see what's going on. And then I'm going to dive back into the job market on my birthday. My birthday was March 10th.
Oopsie.
The world went to hell in a handbasket, I think, at March 10th and a half.
But I
Yeah.
will say, getting out of the concert business may have been a good move
Well,
prior to that.
and now all of a sudden I look like some sort of swami.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
the thing is, I feel like now, like I got a new puppy and I love I'm all the different things that it's like I'm not as big a dick as I know
That's
that
exactly
I was.
it. And I know I was too.
You know?
Even my husband's like, you're much nicer now. I'm like, yeah, I know I am. I'm always nice now.
Oh,
No,
yeah.
but-
Tell me,
no,
Mom,
it's
how much
true.
more
It's
nicer I
100%
am,
true.
damn it.
So what advice would you? So if there's somebody out there that's kind of thinking, oh, maybe now's the time, but yet you're falling into that,
Yeah.
well, it's not all that. What advice would you give them, and what's a good course of action you think for them to take to maybe explore something completely different?
I think the side hustle is the way to go. Start it when you're working, because I know right now there is not a soul alive who's like, yeah, I'd like to give up my paycheck, please, in the middle of a pandemic.
Yeah, right.
Quit my job to try something new. No one's doing that. I get it. I totally understand. But especially if you're working at home, and now at the very least, you're saving your commute time, right? And this is the way my brain works. I'm like, it's a 20-minute commute. Guess what? That's 40 minutes. I can spend 40 minutes doing something else to get me advanced to the place I need to be for this other thing I want to do. Now, I also know a lot of businesses, especially if it's something close, might not enjoy that moonlighting aspect, but there are ways, I think, to at least prime the pump. You know what I mean? Like, to get it going before you have to take the leap. But I know right now it's really difficult because if people have jobs, maybe it's been on furlough, maybe they're worried about, are these going to be around in 6 months? Because I think the trickle down from this we aren't going to see for a while.
I agree.
Well, and I would tell you that's exactly what I did to start my painting. I do this art business called Colorverse that I started actually before the pandemic. It was, I don't know, early December. And I said, same thing as you. I said, I could sit here and watch 2 more episodes of Seinfeld, or I can get up and activate this web address that I've had for 3 years that I haven't done anything with. I figured out what GoDaddy was and how that worked, how to do that on Facebook and so on and so forth. And then I really enjoyed the painting. So that's been its own reward. And that was my question, is now that have you rediscovered a hobby or something that now that you've figured out professionally what you enjoy doing, is there something that all of a sudden kind of reemerged that you really enjoy doing?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think that I don't have hobbies necessarily, unless drinking counts. Does that count? But I listen to so many podcasts. Like, I listen to them on 1.5 speed so I can get through them quicker.
Oh, man.
I just gobble up information that way. And they're not like fun podcasts, most of them. Although one works really well with what we're talking about is this one called Second Life, about people who have pivoted and what they did in their second life. But yeah, I mean, that's what, so I'll do that. I also weirdly, and it was almost like you're nesting when you have a baby. I was cleaning. Like I wanted to clean out closets, and like I guess it
Really?
was like I was
I did
clearing
not
out
find
my
that to be the
my
case.
brain cobwebs were killing. Now listen, my house right now looks like a disaster zone.
Well,
I wanna be
I got
clear.
an idea for you before you leave here tonight.
Yeah, closet. You got a closet?
Well,
in the
no.
basement?
I'm just maybe you could spend some time with somebody that I
I'm
know
not listening.
really,
You know, I
really
think
well.
you can clean a closet as well as anybody, Tom. I think that's accurate. I want to be
Well,
very clear.
and let-
I'm not saying my house is clean. I had the need to clean things and organize things in that moment 2 years
Well,
ago.
let me be clear. In this house, I'm the one who cleans.
Is that
Wait,
it?
Let me
Completely?
be clear. It's a good thing there's not a fourth microphone available.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
right. Yep.
I'll
Good thing-
gladly hand mine over if necessary.
So you haven't like said, oh, well, I want to get out, and like I think that as you've seen back here on the
Yeah.
Oasis, this is his baby. He's
I
really
can see this is awesome.
taking this and run. I've been out walking and
Well, I will say my
kayaking
daughter
and-
Annabelle and I during quarantine we made it a goal to walk a marathon, and we did that.
Oh,
We-
wow. That's cool.
So we walked a marathon, and then the goal was to walk 100 miles in the summer, and I think we got like 2 miles into that and quit. But it's okay.
It's still
Listen,
summer.
It's never-ending summer, so
Right.
we're gonna just keep going with
Yeah.
that. But yeah, so that sort of thing was good. But yeah, I mean, for me, I've poured it all back into how else can I make money. I hate to say it like that. What else can I do?
Yeah.
What other job can I find? What other
Yeah.
little mini gig can I put together?
Well, it sounds like listening to the podcast also lend themselves
Yeah.
to all that you're doing.
Yeah.
Which makes sense.
Well, and it's funny. The way I think about it is now, well, if I have 6 jobs, they can only fire me from 1.
Right.
You know? I mean, so still got 5 more.
yeah, we talk about that all the time, and I think that's a good formula today is diversity. I mean,
Yeah.
you really have to diversify
Absolutely.
yourself because if you're going all in's not safe today.
Well, it's not safe. It's not safe, and I don't mean to sound like like I don't want to be ringing the bell like everybody's going to die. That's not it. That's not it. But I will say, being on the outside of some traditional
Sure.
media outlets, I do look sometimes and go, oh, please understand. Like, I've talked to friends who are like, well, I just don't want to leave the business because of this or that. And I'm like, just think it through before you throw it
Well,
all in.
And
Throw
as
it
you're-
all in.
And as you're thinking about it, because I even said to myself, I said, you know what, I got a newer car. If I need to, I'll Uber. And then the world goes, I don't think you will.
I don't think you will do that.
Enjoy yourself driving other people around all the time. And I'm like, okay, so now what am I going to do? So you really do have to kind of think all that stuff through. But as you said, it's funny that you said you got 6 jobs. They can only get rid of 1. There's a Monty Python. I've gone down the rabbit hole on those guys, but there was a special that they did because Graham Chapman has passed away. But it's called 1 Down, 5 to Go.
There
And
you
that's
go.
That's maybe good words to live by. Now, just as a means of reset, what are we doing here on a Wednesday night, larger than live, here in the back 40 House Gamble in the Oasis? He's Gamble, I'm Finn. The face and the voice that you recognize to your left and to our right is, of course, our good friend Kathrine Nero. You can find her all over the place, which is what we've been talking about, because she took the opportunity to say, you know what, Kathrine Nero Inc. is now
I need an ink, don't
bigger,
I? I
right?
probably need to do that.
Bigger than just the Kathrine Nero you knew before.
Well, what it is it's I get to do the things I like to do, because right now, I mean, I've got a great boss at the Inquirer, a great set of bosses at the Inquirer, but as far as the other stuff, they've been great with letting me do pretty much anything.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I get to do what I want, and I cover the things that I think people want to hear, and that's what's been great.
Well, my last question for you is simply this. I mean, the hearing you say that to me, that's the key with everything. You spend enough time doing whatever you're doing. When it gets to the point where it's not enjoyable anymore, time to move on.
It's you spend too much time at work
Yeah.
to not love it. And I'm not saying you got to love it better more than you like coming home or whatever, but you've got to enjoy it.
Correct.
And it's like when you just chip away at it, you don't realize how far down you've gone until you look back on it. And I think that's where I am now.
Yeah, it's 2 things. One thing my dad used to always say to me, he said, you do what you love and you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. And that was back when you could work at one place for 35
Right.
And people
years.
did.
And they
Exactly.
did. And
My
he
dad did
loved it.
too.
He worked in banking, and it was great advice, and it gave me something to strive for. But I've since seen the change in the dynamic. Now the one I work off of is, he and I have said this, you bust your ass until you get to the point where it's like, okay, well, now I'm going to retire and collect Social Security for the next 11 years, and that's it. It's like you've never
Yeah.
seen a luggage rack on a hearse.
Yeah.
You
It's
know
a
what I
great
mean?
point.
So you might as well enjoy it. And if you're going to be making money, you might as well enjoy the time with your family or whoever you actually like or whatever, however that works.
And here's a good way to shut down this conversation. She's so optimistic so bubbly. Why don't you tell her the title to the song?
No.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, give her the
Wanna
song.
hear this?
I have a few country songs in my
Okay.
titles. I don't have the songs fully fleshed out.
Now let's make sure this is you're here and
Okay,
this
you're
is,
way
this
over
is
there
him.
in
Step
in
out.
Happy Land.
Okay,
Right.
I'm
I
over
gotcha.
here where I
This is-
usually exist.
this
in
is a good-
A-holeville.
This is a good one.
I have a song that I want to write. It's called "I Used to Be Afraid to Die. Now I'm afraid I won't." And so I've got a friend who
good
wants
one.
to live to be 200. I'm like, you're
No,
out of
thank you.
your
No,
mind.
thank you.
Yeah, right.
No, thank you.
Look, my Fidelity guy passed my account off to another guy because he asked. We've talked about
Yeah,
this.
we have talked
He
about
asked me
this.
once in an
He
annual,
keeps reducing
an
the
annual
age.
review. He goes,
Keeps knocking
well,
back
we've
the age.
got, we've got you planned out to 92. I go, well, we can fix that, Chief. He goes, what, do you want to go to 85? I'm like, keep on coming. He goes, 80? I'm like, nope. 75? I go, we're getting warmer. And then he literally asked me 2 years ago, he goes, okay, so let's say 5 years from now, how much money do you think you're going to be making? And I said, a lot less. And I could just see him on the phone going, who wants this guy? Anybody
It's
want
like
him?
Jake from State Farm at night. What are you wearing?
opposite,
You're that
yeah.
guy. You became that guy at the office,
gosh.
right?
Yes, a financial chastity belt.
We got to get that song written. That's a good one.
It
I
is a
think there's
good
a
one.
lot of people
Right.
in that boat.
It's a beauty. It's a
Yeah, well,
beauty.
we couldn't be happier for
I'm
you.
so glad.
You're a
Thank you.
living,
Bravo.
breathing example of somebody who took a day you didn't deserve
Oh, thank you. I appreciate
and
it.
really turned it into something awesome.
I appreciate it. Well, it's been a fun ride, and I can't wait to see how far it goes. Thank you guys for having me. I
Well,
appreciate it.
don't make this your last time out here.
Okay,
You know,
all right.
as we get over the, you got to sit this far apart and you can't do this or can't do that.
So, like 2022, you're saying we're gonna do this again?
See,
Nope.
see, we
I don't want to go against
No.
Fidelity.
It's
guy.
Rubbing
Right.
off on me
Nope.
already.
Call Fidelity and tell them give me one more good.
You know what? I'm gonna
yeah,
have
one more.
One more
That's
year.
Right.
The way
Blow
I
it
look
all.
at it, Ralph, I'm going to have a hell of a next 18 months.
Right, yeah, there you go. Yeah, right. That's all we got. I forgot.
Oh, my
It's
daughter's
all
my
good.
beneficiary. She better make a
Yep.
couple quick calls.
There you
Yeah,
go.
right. But thanks, appreciate
Thank
it, and
you.
best
Thank
of
you.
luck. And yeah, don't be a stranger.
I won't. Thank you guys.
All right, there you are. Our first special guest, Kathrine Nero.
Woo!
Again, give that time again. Check it out.
10
watch
o'clock, Facebook page, The Inquirer,
it.
Monday through Friday.
Right? Okay, there you go.
And since she's a social influencer, I'm sure you can expect
Right.
this whole thing to go through
Oh, yeah, I
the
guess I should
roof.
take some pictures while I'm here.
And
Yeah, I might need to do that.
wait, from Kathrine Nero next week, Andy Furman joins us.
Oh, this is awesome.
He does. Furball.
You think you're getting out in an hour?
right? Furball. We
No
better
way.
put aside some. Yeah, Furball.
That show will be on Tuesday and Wednesday.
Yes.
It's just going to kind of go.
I had him out to Dixie Heights High School last year. We were doing a tailgate prior to one of the Skyline Chili Crosstown Showdown games, and I got him somehow talking about his high school, and he started talking about some guy who was a murderer, like in his high school. I'm like, oh,
All right, maybe
Took a turn.
maybe we'll switch seats.
Go
for this
Colonels.
one.
yeah, right.
Maybe
No, but
next
I'll
week-
make you tell that it's a great story.
Oh, I'm sure. it
No,
is.
but it's somebody. No, it's somebody who graduated from his. It was in his class. Who's somebody you will know. I can't remember the name, but it's like a famous
A famous murderer.
Famous murderer.
Which makes
Thank
it
you.
better.
Even
So-
better.
time. We're done. Thanks to Kathrine Nero for joining us. Thanks to you for watching. And again, reminder: don't forget check us out Mondays for our Facebook Live 7 o'clock.
And like,
Share.
and subscribe because we have
A customized URL on our,
At-
Whoa, fancy pants.
on our YouTube.
on our
page.
YouTube. See, I
See,
wanna
how about
make sure-
that?
It's
I don't know
just-
what the hell that means.
Yeah,
but
you
I've
do. That's
learned to
good
say
stuff.
it.
That's
Yes.
good stuff.
Yeah, if you
It's
don't
all
mind
good.
sticking around, maybe we'll do a little tutorial.
Yeah, there you go.
All right, guys.
Thanks, Kathrine. Have a
Thanks,
good
Thank you,
night.
guys.
Cheers.